What's up, guys? It is Matt Jackson and Clay Smith, and we are the Wash Bros. Welcome to episode 3 of our second season. And for this one, we're going to be talking about balancing like our work-life balance with the busy season, and kind of like how to manage our stress and our emotions during the season, because it's pretty hectic. And usually when the season's here, like you barely have enough time to breathe. So what we do as individuals to prevent burnout and to stay fresh as we continuously grow our businesses and be consistent. So you ready to kick this one off, Clay?
Let's do it. So the balance in life and work to prevent burnout during peak season, very important. A lot of things that people don't really think about, especially starting out, because I know that that's not something I thought about even when I started. I was just focused on the money. I need to get the money. I want to be a millionaire tomorrow type thing. And the biggest thing is we don't realize we need to focus on ourselves more than we do the business. The business is important. Taking care of your family is important, but also you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself in the meantime.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started the same way, and I started it as a side hustle. So I was kind of used to like, oh, I have to grind myself. I have to grind my way out of my corporate job. And then you get used to working 2 jobs. So it's one of those things you get used to, never turn it off. And then you're just like push, push, push. But 3-4 years down the road, like if you're continuously doing that, you might be starting to experience burnout, and you're not putting your best self forward and being there for yourself, your business, but not only those 2 things, but your family, which is, we both have families. We got I have a kid, you have kids, and then we're both married. So it's like you can be on your own island, hustle, hustle, hustle 24/7, like not taking care of yourself. And then your wife is upset, your kids are upset. That's just added stressors to your life that you don't need, because it's stressful enough to grow a business, especially businesses that are really hectic like the ones that we're in.
100%. So, like when I was in the sales industry and the car sales industry, I would work and never, honestly, sometimes not even take a day off. It wasn't physically demanding, but it was mentally demanding. So, there comes a time where you got to learn to turn your brain off too. Because I mean, like mine, believe it or not, it still goes on if I let it. So the biggest thing is put your phone down, turn your phone off, put it on do not disturb. I know that I have the option. I know that you use yours because I see it all the time. But that's the biggest key for me is I can never get away from work. And when it's time for me to turn work off, I always make sure I use that. That's the best thing that iPhone ever come out with was that do not disturb button. So basically, I will not get anything, because a lot of people, if you have the systems in place like we do, they go to your website, they go on Google, they go wherever and fill out a lead on your website, and you get those notifications. Well, hell, all you're thinking about is, oh crap, I got to get this job, I got to get this job, I got to get this job. You never turn your brain off. All you're thinking about is that you're stuck in your phone, and before you know it, it's 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's time to go to bed.
Exactly. And then you're not able to be fresh for the next day. You're not really able to sleep that good that night. And even if you think, oh, I'm fine, I don't need to do this. Like every guru talks about like waking up at 5 a.m. and hustle, hustle, hustle. Yeah, that's great. But like when you've proved yourself in a business and you're in a stable situation where like you're not going to fail at this point, it's up to you to like, just as we maintain our equipment and our machines, to maintain our bodies and ourself and our mind and our spirit. So it's like I see it a lot on the Facebook groups, or I see it a lot with guys that I know, and they like hit it so hard, so aggressively, and then 5 years down the road, they're doing something completely different because they're like, oh man, I just can't do it, or like I got divorced, or like I got injured, or something like that. They're not really making sure that they're set up for the long run of their own success, whether it be like their mental health, or their physical and stuff like that. And then you see guys too, they'll wear like the lack of mental health as a badge of honor of like, oh, look at me. Like I worked so hard. Like I put myself to the ringer. And at the end of the day, it's like, cool, bro. But like, don't kill yourself here. Like if you want to continuously level up and grow and not hit these barriers that we put on ourselves, you got to really focus on taking care of yourself first. And then, like you say, Clay, put stuff in like we got our, like when we're getting our leads, we figure out like, how can I give myself time, and how can I like schedule out my own time and peace during the day, so I'm not just responding to constant stimulation of like quote requests, customer requests, Facebook notification. And I've learned that I had to get a virtual assistant to help delegate stuff. So my phone is routed through like Ring Central, which is a voice over IP system. So I can, if I want to answer the phone, I can, but if not, my virtual assistant's going to pick it up. And I've also learned to like time block stuff where like, hey, certain hours I'm going to work, and answer my phone and talk to customers, but other hours it's going to go straight to the virtual assistant. And if it's necessary, I'll I'll hop in and get it. But more times than not, I think we hold ourselves to a standard that's not necessary for our business to run smoothly and efficiently. And like we almost be like that choke point in our business by trying to do everything ourselves and like not having the ability to delegate, which is like what I've learned to make my mental health a priority is to like delegate.
Right, yeah. I mean, and your family sees it. They see you eventually, especially starting out, and that's the whole thing with why we're talking about this. And it may be somebody that's 4 year, 5 years in, they're doing it part time with a full time job. This is not something that you think about or see, especially when you get busy and as you continue to grow your business. I think that we peaked our business up pretty fast in the 4 or 5 years that we've done it. We do a lot of volume, so obviously that's a lot of work, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of things you're thinking about, and it's very important. Like I know a lot of people mentally just can't do it. Eventually, when you get to the stage that we're at, you just can't do it. And luckily, I had the experience with dealing with a high volume type demanding job before this, and it groomed me to do this. And it's really nothing. It's just the fact of I'm spending more time with my family, but now I have to learn to when I'm at home, when I have my free time to catch up on them office things, I have to kind of delegate when I'm doing it because if I'm always working, then what good is it? We all go out and we're self-employed for a reason. We have businesses for a reason. We go out and we don't work for Uncle Sam anymore for that reason. We don't work for that your regular job. We don't have a regular job. We do this for a little bit of freedom, and a lot of guys quit their regular jobs for the freedom, but you never get the freedom, and then they can't figure out how to get away from being stuck in it all the time, so they just go back to regular jobs. So I think it's very important. You gotta know when to put your work aside from the family because the family, I mean, it takes a mental toll on you, and then your family has to deal with the consequences of it.
Exactly. If you're like a small business owner, you're literally like married to your business. So it's your wife's like, you're married to me. We have a family together, but you also married and have a family with your business. So it's important that you're not prioritizing that business in the eyes of your family and your wife, where she's going to get resentful, or you're just going to run into issues where like you're both on the same page. Because like in the beginning, the first couple of years, it's like, oh yeah, I'm so excited, proud of you, babe. Like you're killing it. I'm proud of you. But what are you going to do like 4 years in? When you got a multiple six-figure business, and she's like, well, is this going to be the new normal? And like I think if they see like, oh, you're so good at growing from zero to the hustle stage where you can like grow up, and it's all like I'm just prioritizing phone calls, I'm prioritizing the business, I'm prioritizing work, and then you're going to hit that limit, and you're either going to not accept like, okay, I have to figure out how to delegate things, and I have to figure out how to like keep my life in check and prioritize my mental health and my like emotional health, or I'll never get past this point. And then to me, that was kind of a hard pill to swallow, because like you and I are both the same. We like the OCD, like, hey, we want it to run this way. Nobody's going to run as good as us. But then you hit that threshold, and I think this year you're going to find out that threshold where you're just so slammed that you're like, I have to like allow people to come in and have another truck on the road all the time, and then have somebody help me with the phones and stuff like that. Otherwise, there's a limited time of day, and you don't want to like sacrifice yourself above everything else, and then it reflects in your job, and then you burn yourself out, and your business is burning itself down, and it's doing nobody any good.
Yeah, and that burnout comes quick. I think I went 20 something days last year without even taking a day off. And I literally was working and I was so burnt out. I called my wife, said, hey, I'm booking a cruise. I'll let you know what date it is. And we ended up going on a cruise for a few days because I just had to separate myself from the everything going on. I had to get away for just a few days. That's all I needed so I could reset my mind. And that I mean, it's real. Especially when you're overwhelmed, work's coming in, the phone calls are nonstop, the quotes are nonstop. You're washing the house, you're getting phone calls left and right. They don't stop. You're having to enter in all their information because if you don't, you're going to forget about it. You're going to have to remember to do those quotes when you get a minute. And definitely got to take care of yourself. Burnout comes quick. You definitely don't want to get to where you hate it because then you're not going to do good quality work for your customers. And then I mean, you're not doing any good for yourself at all whatsoever. Eventually, it's going to all catch up to you.
Exactly. And everybody starts out like doughy eyed, like I have this dream, I've like an entrepreneur, I'm doing my own business, this is freedom, this is like I can control and do what I want to do. And if you don't allow yourself to like prioritize yourself first, you're not going to have any control or freedom, and it's going to be way more of a prison that you built for yourself than just working in a 9 to 5 job where, yeah, your boss may suck, but for 40 hours a week, you just have to tolerate for that. You're not having to carry it for your entire like waking hours pretty much, and then go home and think about it, and then your wife's not able to spend time with you and your kids aren't there. So like you hit a point, I think too, like where you're making enough where you're like, okay, I'm comfortable at this level. I'm not going to kill myself like by crossing this line, because you could just pour all the money in the world into Google ads or social media ads and just crank it up and say, I'm going to just obliterate it this year. But what's the cost of that? You don't want to say, oh, I made so much money, but I had a nervous breakdown, or like I ran into health issues, or like you could get divorced. It's funny. My previous life, I was married not for very long, but I got divorced. And a lot of that was due to me being focused so much on growing my business. Whereas like I was prioritizing my business over everything. So going forward, like my life now, I've always like created a boundary there, because it's like, okay, you know what? That relationship wasn't supposed to work out. However, going forward, I won't allow that to be a chance in this one. And this is a very real thing. Like you see guys in the industry, they'll post something and they're like, I'm killing it, hustle, hustle, hustle my business. And then all of a sudden it's like, feel sorry for me, I got divorced. Well, what did you do to allow yourself to be in a position to get divorced?
Yeah, I think it's very important. If you're married, if you're in that engagement stage, if you're in the pre-engagement stage, you just need to lay it all out there and make sure that you guys both have an understanding of what's going on and what you both think is important, because you definitely got to be on the same page. If it wasn't for my wife, I mean, there's no telling what all I'd have done been through and where I'd be right now. But she definitely has helped me out a lot. She's not very business savvy, but you know what I mean. She's a good support system, and that's something I believe that anybody needs, especially with high stress, strung type business type thing. I don't care who you are; it's stressful being a business owner. There's always going to be something. When it's good, it's great, but when it's bad, it's terrible.
Very much so. Yeah, and that's true. It's like just because they don't have that like business acumen doesn't mean they're not a valuable resource to have in your corner. If anything, it's probably good because you're not like talking business with them all the time. Like you can turn your brain off and be present and be like in a completely different emotion than say, "Oh, let's talk about business when we're together."
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I mean, everybody's got that same story. They had a regular job, they were broke, and they had a dream, and they started a business, and then they had a success. And I think that's what I see a lot of the repetitive type stuff on the other podcast is, we're all about the same. It's all about how much effort you want to put into it, and how much you want to build, and how much you want to grow, and what your goals are. Like, I want to be retired when I'm 40 years old, so I got some work to do, but that's a goal that I have. So it's all about how hard you want to work and what your goals are in life.
Exactly. And that's why like if you're just blindly following people on social media or in different businesses, whether it's like, hey, this is the guy down the street, like everybody has a different goal. So you shouldn't be like, oh, I feel less because I'm not doing what that guy's doing. You're not seeing what's going on like in between his ears, whether it's like mental health or like what's his family life like, or like it's just some people are at different stages of life. I was at a different stage of life when I was like single than now when I'm married and I have a son at home, and it's like not fair for my wife for me to be like on that constant grind where I'm out of the house all the time when she has a job too and we're juggling raising our son. So it's not, I'm not out there like pounding my chest saying, oh, I'm going to be like gone 12, 14 hours a day, because it would be worse. It would be worse than having a successful business is like, hey, not not being the dad to your kid. At the end of the day, it's like your kid doesn't care if you're doing those extra jobs. He's more just trying to spend time with you. And your wife, you don't want your wife to leave you for the Amazon guy,
Yeah, right.
because the
Yeah,
Amazon guy comes to my house way too many times.
yeah. The kids, they notice it too, man. They notice it, especially mine are 8 and 5 now. They'll be 9 and 6 this year, so they definitely notice it. They know that I'm all about pressure washing. They notice what you're doing, how you're doing it, the things you're saying. Um, and they know what's important. When they're older, they'll understand a little more, but definitely want to make an impact on them while they're kids. Because at childhood, man, I remember a lot of the main stuff when I was a kid and what my parents went through as business owners themselves. So
I think that's cool. Like you say like your parents were business owners before, and then you can be the same version pretty much to your own kids. and like lead them with like the lessons that you've learned from them slash like how you've grown and what you know now. So like you're putting your kids on a pedestal even greater than what you had. It's like third generation right there.
Well, it's like my oldest came home with his report card the other day. He had A's and B's. He had one B, which was math. I'm not even, if he had an F, I wouldn't even be mad at that because I sucked at math. But anyway, he had a B in math, and he had like a 98, and three of his scores were perfect hundreds. So I feel like if you set those expectations when they're young, all you're doing is setting them up for success.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was like, way to go, son. I could
Right.
never do that.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, and that's true. If they see that you're pushing and driving and successful, and that's a value that's important to you, like hard work, they're gonna want to like, hey, that's my dad's my hero. I want to do what he does because he's my hero. So you're setting that good example. And by being a business owner, like you said, yeah, you're working a lot of hours, but we're able to be at home with our families more than, hey, I'm working a lot of hours in a desk in an office somewhere where my kids can't see it.
Oh,
So
the desk in the office sucks too, man. Hey,
yeah.
I tell you, the first year in pressure washing, after sitting at a desk for 5, 6, 7 years, I was just like, I was so exhausted. My body was so sore. And believe it or not, I mean, you would think going from a regular job to doing this, I would be a little more stressed out, but it was actually less stress. I was more stressed at my regular job than I was owning a business. So I went from smoking a pack of cigarettes a day to nothing. So but very slowly, about the second year in business, I finally got to quit. But definitely, when you start getting out there, spending more time with your family and have the freedom, you start thinking about stuff and your physical health, your mental health, and stuff like that. So, and I put on a little weight since then, since I quit smoking. So,
Well, you're the daddy, so you got to be a little thick.
I know that's right. Yeah, I'm still small though, but my wife gives me hell about it. But anyway, yeah, the preventing burnout, man. I mean, all of it's important, but the burnout, I think, is the most important. Just because if you burn out, you're done. Like once it's caught up to you, it's caught up to you. I think there was a day that I actually got dehydrated. It was a few years ago, just being stupid and just trying to get work done, not taking care of myself, not taking that 10, 15-minute break to hydrate myself. But now I done got to the point where I'll drink one of those big bottles. I'll spend $100, $200 on Pedialyte that every week and just keep myself hydrated. And that's just a little tip that I do to stay hydrated when it's 100 degrees outside. I'll drink one with ice at night, and then I'll take one with me during the day, and uh, I don't even feel the heat.
Heck yeah. That's I mean, that's it's important because I mean, I had health issues this past year that like almost killed me. So it's important to take care of yourself. And it's like a healthy man has like a million wishes, but a sick man only has one. It's like to get healthy. So whether that's a physical illness or a mental illness, a lot of guys like we suffer like on this self-imposed stress for no reason at all, and it's like, why are we setting these huge expectations on ourselves and over our heads? And it's like kind of a silent battle that affects a lot of us men. And I feel like in the business owner community it's really prevalent because it's like, oh, I'm going to do this is going to be like I'm forging my own path here, but we isolate ourselves and then we get stuck in our own head, and then like before you know it, you're like, I'm getting to the stage of burnout, or I'm drinking too much alcohol to calm down at night and stuff like that. So like how you say, you'll hit these points and then you'll like, I'm going to book a cruise, and then you'll do like a week cruise in the Caribbean, and then you come back super fresh. Meanwhile, that guy who didn't take that week off is just kind of dragging his ass through the rest of the season, and you're able to hit it really strong. So it's important that you're able to like notice, hey, I'm at that point. Like I'm a hustler. I'm at that point where I could keep pushing, but it's best for me to not, to recharge and then to hit it hard again.
Well, the coolest thing about the longer you're in business, you see the trends of business. You know what's going to be busy. You know what it's going to be slow. You know what it's going to be just kind of, you know what I mean? Just kind of right there in the middle, where it's kind of chill for a minute and then it'll get back busy again. You just see the trends. You have the data from the past few years that you've been in business. You're actually able to know when you can do things. So what I do is I try to plan my year out. Like, okay, January, the first 3 weeks of January, I know there's not going to be shit going on. So I'm going to take a vacation and take it easy and do whatever I need to do then. There's nothing at all going on. It's crickets. So during the spring, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work my ass off. I'm going to put a bunch of money back to get ready for that winter all the way through the year, starting in the spring. You're going to do as much of that as you can during the spring. Then in the summertime, end of the end of May, beginning of June, you're dealing with graduation, so nobody's really thinking about you. So it's going to be kind of chill. Still going to be busy, but it's going to be chill. Then June is a pretty good month. July, it's pretty decent. Then at the end of July, everybody's getting ready for school. Beginning of August, everybody's getting ready for school. It's chill. And then, just the trend. See, I know it off the top of my head just because I've been through it. I know what to expect. But the biggest thing is, I think that where me and you see the most success is we focus mainly on pressure washing. Find that one good service that you can do, that you can ace, that you're really good at, and that you can structure your business, where you can structure your business numbers wise to where you can be successful, where you can make your money, and where you can set yourself up for winter. And then once you've done that, you just do exactly what I told you. Take the first 3 weeks of January off and then focus on the spring. Like I said in the last episode, in the spring, you're getting ready, you're prepping yourself for the winter, and then the winter, you're prepping yourself for the spring. So if you could do both of those and figure out how you can do both of those successfully, you're going to have a successful business. And that's my secret formula.
Exactly. And just by knowing that and knowing, hey, look, I don't have to like run around like a chicken with my head cut off to try to make money or I'm not going to make it. Like it's just having a plan, and by having a plan, you're not just relying on like that hustle and grind, and then that's when we get in our heads. And it's funny like cuz you see pressure washing, everybody jumps into pressure washing cuz it's like a oh, how to make six figures and get out of your day job type of thing. Everybody views it as like such a get rich quick scheme, but they don't understand that once you're in it, what are you going to do? Like how you got to zero to $100,000 a year is a completely different muscle than how you're going to take yourself from 100,000 to 300 or four or $500,000 plus. You can't just view it like, oh, I'm just going to outwork the guy next to me. You got to say, okay, how do I take care of myself? How do I know when's the busy season so I know where and when to push really hard? And then I need to know when I can plan my breaks so that 3 years into the business, you're not, oh, I hung it up because I can't do it. And that's the failure I see in pressure washing businesses isn't to make $100,000 a year. It's to be in it past 3 to 5 years. Like you look at the failure rates of these businesses and they're huge because people don't plan the seasons. They don't plan for breaks. They don't take care of themselves. They're kind of just going blindly into it. They're saying, I can make so much money in a month during the busy season. And then they go back to like stress and starve and the ups and downs without having a proper plan in place. And once you
One
get
thing,
one or two seasons down, you kind of figure it out. So it's like having a fair to yourself like goal and just go about it every year and not try to kill yourself and do too much in one year.
well, I think a lot of guys with regular jobs, and I'm guilty of it because when I first started, I was the same way, but I could literally do two or three jobs and make what I was making at my regular job. So I think that's what draws in a lot of people and what really lures them into starting their own business. But as I sit back and I think about when I started my business, it was really just all people that I knew. It was all people that, kind of like a word of mouth type thing. But eventually you run out of everybody that you know. Like and then that's another kind of stress. Now you're like, oh shit, I've done quit my job. I've done everything that I need to do and I don't have any work coming in. Like, what am I going to do? So then you have to find ways, okay, do I need to spend all my money that I have a little bit saved up to advertise? And then you don't even know if your advertisements are going to even be structured properly to convert, to get more customers and bring them in. So then you got to pay somebody to set your ads up. You got to pay somebody to help you with your marketing, to give you the knowledge. It's not easy. It's really not easy, and I think that's why we see a lot of people come and go in this business. But and I think that what a lot of people need to understand, especially for anybody new that's listening, is you need to probably make at least triple your income starting out weekly to be successful doing this. So if you could structure a number game out to where you can afford the proper marketing and the things to do to get to like where kind of like where me and Matt are at, then it's definitely easy to be successful. Now it's not easy, it's not perfect. There's no blueprint. You just kind of take the knowledge that we've given you or wherever else you're getting knowledge and kind of put it in your own spin. And that's where I see a lot of people fail is they try to follow these blueprints and they don't work in certain areas. Like every market's different.
That's a very good point. You'll look at guys who maybe they're in Canada where stuff's more expensive, or they're in California, or they're in New Jersey, New York, uh, and they're like, "Oh, I charge 20 cents a square, or 30 cents a square for soft washing." And in our market, you're at like 10 to 15 cents a square. So, like, if you're trying to copy numbers of people who are in these places that aren't your local market, you're probably setting yourself up for unnecessary stress and failure. And like you say, we always like we're setting our goals. Oh, I need to make 100,000 a year. Well, if you're making 100,000 in revenue, you probably should still do this part time, because that's going to give you maybe an extra like 40 or $50,000 left over if you're doing all the work yourself and you're pretty lean on marketing and all that stuff. So people run into issues because they look at that revenue number and they're not realizing, whoa, this is what it's actually costing me. This is what I'm truly taking home.
At the end of the day, you're probably making 30 grand on 100.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe, I mean, that may be a low number, but starting out, because you have to literally everything you make, you have to put back in your company starting out.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, you got to buy your trucks, you got to buy all that, you got to, and then if you're not starting out with fancy equipment, just think about like how it was when you had your 4 gallon a minute compared to where you got your skid now. It's like, yeah, you can
Yeah,
bang
I
out
mean,
work with a 4 gallon, but it's 9 day from where you're at now.
yeah, I mean, we went from what a $600-700 machine to a $30,000 rig setup, But
Yeah.
uh, I mean, we got other stuff, but just very important balancing life and work and preventing burnout during peak season. I mean, that's just something I think was great to go over. It's something that it just doesn't cross your mind because you're so busy trying to figure out how you're going to get work, how you're going to get these customers rolling in, and then year after year it does get easier. But I think you got to get over that 2 or 3 year mark. I think those are the toughest, especially just trying to grow and create value in your company. Um, create value for your brand. The Google reviews. I cannot stress enough how important those are because I would say 85% of my customers come from Google. So, and that's just having a very strong Google profile. As you know, me and you both, we do have those. We're about to hit 300 reviews. I think you're pushing 500 reviews. So, and that also helps with SEO because Google, all they're doing is looking for the most active profile.
Yep. Yeah, and then yeah, like regular postings on Google My Business with the relevant keywords and location. So you post a picture saying, "Hey, here's a commercial pressure washing job I did." Say like commercial pressure washing in Simpsonville, something like that.
Yeah.
You want to find like these search keywords that people are going to use. And same thing with
And it's
website pages. Like if you have a website page, you're like pressure washing in Simpsonville, that's gonna rank, and then you have a blog that ties to that website, and then Google's just saying, oh, and then you post to your page with pictures in your Google My Business saying like pressure washing Simpsonville. They're gonna make a lot of connections there, and you're gonna have good SEO.
yeah,
And
the SEO is very important.
and two, that comes with time, like we are saying, and then your cost per customer acquisition is lower because you got a lot more organic stuff flowing.
Yeah, those are more for advanced, more people. If you're newer listening to this, you'll eventually learn about all that. But if you haven't yet, go ahead, set up that Google My Business, set it up properly. Don't cut any corners on it, and take it very serious because in the long game, it's very important.
Yep. Yeah, that and all your directories like Yelp, all those set up your like name, your address, and your contact. If that all aligns up, those are good things to help keep your Google My Business map pack good. I'm running into issues of trying to rebuild my map pack because I had my profile unfortunately removed for like a month last year, and then so when I recreated it, it wasn't under my personal address. It was now under like a generic like service area. So it's like going
So it's
back
like
and
start over.
yeah, it's not as terrible as starting over, but I went from ranking fairly well in the maps to like not really ranking. So it just takes time. But I don't know if any of you guys on here ran into issues with getting your business profile on Google suspended, but it's kind of a bitch in itself. And you just have to keep reaching out to Google and hopefully allow them to restore it. But the issue I ran into was because I used my personal address And Google said since it wasn't a business place where customers went, I couldn't have that. I had to have a service address. So that was kind of the bullshit reason they had to suspend my account. So all the fun
Luckily,
things,
I
but
haven't had that.
yeah. But that's kind of one of those dickhead things that somebody can do if you're not running it correctly. But like Clay and I say, sometimes stuff happens and we like, oh, I wonder if that was a malicious act or that wasn't a malicious act.
It definitely makes you wonder.
It was funny too because I was thinking I was looking at your website to try to get an idea for like adding pages of stuff like that on my website because I saw you recently added like a roof washing service on your website. And
Yeah,
I was like, I typed in c3washpro.com and it didn't come up to any website. And I said, oh, I forgot the S. But a dickhead move could be to buy c3washpro.com for like $7 a month and redirect that to Matt the driveway guy.
hey, you could do it.
I know. I'm just saying. It's like, oh, that's something. That's something that would be funny.
But
But
I mean, that's something that you can do to your advantage. I
it's
mean, if
just things
anybody's
that
listening,
like you got to view it like, what could somebody possibly do so I could protect myself in situations? Because like we both know that like people can be shitty. Like people get weird and they get stressed out. It's like, hey, if they don't have good peace in their life and they're not confident in themselves, they look at somebody who's successful and they try to tear them down, as opposed to being like, that guy's doing his own thing, respect.
100%.
So
You got to figure out how to get funnel people to you.
yep, yep. And then once you're funneled full of people, you got to figure out how to find peace and not kill yourself by like like facilitating all that work. Whether you got employees that you're sending out, like my stress now isn't, am I going to get burnt out this year? My stress is like, am I going to have the right employees in place to be able to like facilitate work? And then am I going to have enough jobs coming in so I can put the employees with enough work? So it's kind of like a different level of stress, but
And then how to minimize heat cases.
exactly. Yeah. And then, hey, when stuff happens, because when you got employees, stuff happens. You say, all right, well, when do I cut this guy, and how much reputational damage is he going to do to me?
100%. That's what I've been struggling with myself. So
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Everybody's got their own way of doing it. I've kind of ripped off a band-aid to scale, and it cost me some money, and I ran into some cash flow issues that I'm catching up now. So it's like, hey, you could be like, oh, look at this guy. He doubled his business. I was like, yeah, but it costs money to double a business. And then there's also things that are unnecessary stressors. So if you want to be like lean, mean, and be like, I got a ton of cash in the bank, or you want to be like, I'm going to rip off a band-aid and scale quickly and not have a lot of cash in the bank, there's what stress do you want?
either way, it's going to be stress.
Exactly. So, but I guess that's the beauty of business. As long as you pick out your stress and you can dictate, hey, this is my terms. Like I'm picking this out. This is what I'm going to do. That's where you're winning. So
Definitely art itself.
yes. But you got anything you want to add? We're about 33 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. I appreciate everybody following us, listening, downloading our podcast episodes. Definitely want to keep pushing these out. Appreciate everybody. If you have any questions, anything of that nature, please be sure to comment, and we'll be sure to answer anything that you may have. So just keep following along. We're gonna keep giving great advice and try to set you guys up for success.
Yep. And check out the group we just made, the Wash Bros group. This is going to be something that way we can interact with everybody. And what I like to do is just kind of when we're in the field, post about, hey, this is a job we're doing, like information, and just share and introduce yourselves. There's so many groups on Facebook with pressure washers in it. So like if you guys want to be part of the Wash Bros group, make sure to give us a join and follow, and we'll appreciate that. So, but yeah, if that's everything, I guess we can kick this off, and I'll go through the outro, and then we'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you in the next one.
Sweet, appreciate it.